We moved slowly at first, almost afraid to cross the final line. But the more we touched, the more the guilt drowned under the weight of need. Clothes slipped away, discarded like the lies we had been living. Every kiss, every caress, felt like setting fire to something sacred. I knew this would destroy us. Knew that if Emily ever found out, the life we had built would turn to ash. But in that moment, none of it mattered. There was only Isabella, soft, warm, real. By the time we finally collapsed against each other, breathless and shaking, the guilt began its slow crawl back into my chest. My name is Liam. Emily is my wife and Isabella my stepdaughter. Yes, I removed her pant, and I made love to her. What matters now is how will Emily my wife feel after knowing that I slept with daughter. Before you judge me, please pay attention. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, do well to subscribe and hit on notifications. To all my returning subscribers, thank you for always watching my videos. From the outside, our life was the kind that made people jealous. I was a well-respected doctor. Emily, my wife, was a superstar, famous, beautiful, loved by millions. Our mansion stood tall behind wrought iron gates, a perfect symbol of everything we had built together. And Isabella, Emily's daughter from her first marriage to Lucas, completed the picture, a stunning young woman, bright and full of life. But if you stepped inside, if you really looked, you'd see the cracks running deep through the walls. Emily's career came first. It always had. There were endless flights, red carpet events, movie sets, interviews. Her world was made of flashing lights and screaming fans. And most nights, I was left behind to navigate the hollow rooms and empty dinners. That's when Isabella became more than just her daughter. She became my company. My comfort. At first, it was innocent. She'd sit with me after dinner, her bare legs curled up on the couch, asking about my day, laughing at my old stories. She started to notice things Emily never did. When I came home late, when my back ached after long surgeries, when my eyes were tired but no one cared enough to see it. Isabella saw me. And somehow, in seeing me, she made me feel alive again. I told myself it was harmless. That fathers and daughters could be close. That there was nothing wrong with a little attention, a little comfort, when the person you loved most barely remembered you existed. But late at night, when I was alone in bed, I couldn't forget the way she looked at me sometimes. Not like a stepdaughter. Not like a little girl. She wasn't little anymore. She was 22. And she moved through the house like a storm I couldn't escape. Every dress she wore seemed shorter. Every laugh lingered a little longer. And every time her hand brushed against mine, it left a burning trail on my skin. I was losing the battle, one small moment at a time. And deep down, I think I knew it was only a matter of time before everything would fall apart. Because no matter how strong the walls looked from the outside, inside, they were already crumbling. And soon, they would collapse completely. It was a Friday night, and the house felt heavier than usual. Rain beat against the windows, tapping like fingers desperate to get in. Emily was somewhere in Europe, dazzling cameras and chasing headlines. And I was here, alone, restless, pretending not to notice the way Isabella lingered a little too long when she said goodnight. I stayed downstairs for a while, nursing a glass of whiskey, staring at the empty walls. At some point, I told myself to check on her. Just to make sure she was okay. That's all it was supposed to be. I climbed the stairs slowly, feeling the weight of every step. Her door was cracked open, just enough for the hallway light to spill inside. I pushed it open quietly, careful not to wake her. She was asleep, curled up on her side, her breathing soft and steady. The covers had slipped down around her waist, revealing bare shoulders and a long, smooth back. The sight hit me harder than it should have. I stood there for too long, battling myself. Telling myself to turn around. Telling myself this wasn't right. But I stepped inside instead. I sat down at the edge of her bed, the mattress dipping slightly under my weight. She stirred, her eyes fluttering open, confusion clouding her face for just a moment. "Liam?" she whispered, her voice barely a breath. I should have apologized and left. But something inside me cracked wide open. The loneliness. The hunger. The unbearable pull that had been building for months. I reached out without thinking, brushing a strand of hair away from her face. Her skin was so warm, so soft under my fingertips. And then, she didn't pull away. She leaned into my touch instead, her hand finding mine, pressing it against her cheek. Her eyes met mine, wide and searching, and in that instant we both knew. There was no going back. She shifted, lifting the covers, silently inviting me closer. My heart pounded in my chest, louder than the storm raging outside. One more step, and everything would change. One more step, and I wouldn't be her stepfather anymore. I hesitated for a heartbeat longer, praying for some kind of strength. But when she reached for me, her fingers tracing the buttons of my shirt, my resolve shattered like glass. I slipped beneath the covers beside her, and the world outside the room disappeared. There was only her. Only us. And the dangerous new world we were about to create with one reckless, desperate night. The room was quiet except for the sound of our breathing, shaky, unsure, heavy with everything we knew we shouldn't be doing. The storm outside had faded into a soft drizzle, but inside, the storm between us was just beginning. Her fingers moved across my chest, trembling slightly, but steady enough to make my heart hammer in my ears. I caught her hand, held it still, searching her face for any sign of hesitation, any reason to stop. But there was none. Only a silent, desperate plea in her eyes that matched the ache burning inside me. I pulled her closer, feeling the heat of her body against mine, and for the first time in months, maybe years, I didn't feel invisible. Her lips brushed against my jawline, featherlight at first, like a question. When I didn't pull away, she grew bolder, her mouth finding mine in a kiss that shattered every last piece of my self-control. We moved slowly at first, almost afraid to cross the final line. But the more we touched, the more the guilt drowned under the weight of need. Clothes slipped away, discarded like the lies we had been living. Every kiss, every caress, felt like setting fire to something sacred. I knew this would destroy us. Knew that if Emily ever found out, the life we had built would turn to ash. But in that moment, none of it mattered. There was only Isabella, soft, warm, real. The way she whispered my name against my skin. The way her hands clung to me like she'd been waiting for this just as long as I had. It wasn't just about desire. It was loneliness, hunger, and years of feeling unseen, all crashing down at once. By the time we finally collapsed against each other, breathless and shaking, the guilt began its slow crawl back into my chest. I lay there, staring up at the ceiling, listening to the rain, feeling her heartbeat against mine. And for a moment I let myself believe we could just stay here, tangled up in this impossible, broken moment, forever. But deep down, I knew the truth. Morning would come. And with it, the crushing weight of what we had done. There would be no hiding from it. No pretending it hadn't happened. We had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. And nothing, not apologies, not silence, not even love, could save us now. The first thing I noticed was the light, sharp and cold, cutting across the room like a blade. For a moment I forgot where I was. Forgot what we had done. But then I felt her beside me, her body curled against mine, and it all came crashing back. Panic flared in my chest. What had I done? What had we done? Isabella stirred, blinking up at me with sleepy eyes, her lips curling into the faintest, most trusting smile. It made my stomach twist painfully. There was a knock at the front door downstairs, a sharp, impatient sound that ripped through the stillness. We both froze. Reality was here. It was pounding on the door, demanding to be let in. I pulled away from her gently, feeling the loss of her warmth instantly, and grabbed my clothes from the floor. She sat up, clutching the sheet around her, confusion and fear shadowing her face. "It's okay," I whispered, even though it wasn't. I threw on my clothes, my hands shaking, and made my way down the stairs. Every step felt heavier than the last. When I opened the door, Emily stood there. Windblown, exhausted, beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. Her suitcase sat behind her, rain dripping from the handles. "I came home early," she said, smiling like she couldn't wait to be in my arms. I forced a smile, the taste of betrayal still thick on my tongue. My mind raced. Could she tell? Did I look different? Guiltier? I helped her inside, her familiar perfume swirling around me, drowning me in memories of a life that now felt like it belonged to someone else. As she wrapped her arms around me, I caught sight of Isabella standing at the top of the stairs, the sheet clutched around her body, her face pale and terrified. Our eyes locked. One silent second stretched into forever. I turned away first, pretending I hadn't seen her, pretending nothing had changed. But everything had. We had shattered something that could never be repaired. As Emily chatted about her trip, about how much she had missed me, I nodded and smiled, each word driving the knife deeper into my chest. I had betrayed her. Betrayed everything I once stood for. And worse, I had dragged Isabella down with me. From that day on, our house was no longer a home. It was a graveyard of secrets, each glance, each silence, another nail in the coffin of what we had destroyed. And no matter how much we smiled, no matter how well we played the part of a perfect family, we both knew the truth. Some sins never stay buried. They live in the walls. They breathe in the spaces between words. They haunt you, forever. Have you ever imagined yourself in this kind of situation? What did you do about it? Subscribe to this channel and hit on notifications for more interesting stories like this.